So let's get into Kay's question. Please advise Kay on using her whole potential to serve others through her business while generating abundance. And as usual, let us speed up this process. Okay, so now that we've cast our coins, we have a yin, female, changing line at the bottom, a yang, and then 4 changing lines. So here we can see that for K, the question is full of dynamic change. Okay, so we're going to draw in our lines, right? So that's female yin, and yang line sitting over here, and a female line. What we have here is hexagram 7, the army. Right neatly, Belinda. Okay, so for Kay's question, our first hexagram, okay, is going to be the army with 4 changing lines in the first, third, fourth, fifth, and 6th position. Okay, so this is a really interesting situation. And when we get into the interpretation, we'll unpack it a bit more. Because when we have so many changing lines related to the question, it's almost like this little line over here is the only one that's left standing. There are some schools of thought that say that you read this particular line in the outcome or the relating hexagram. So let's draw our outcome or our relating hexagram. Okay, because we've got a changing line, this yin line becomes a yang line. Okay, that yin line becomes a yang line. The dots obviously mean I've cast a 6 or a 9, a changing line. That yin line becomes a yang line. That line becomes a yang line. That one stays a yang line, okay? And this one becomes a yang line. And what we're left with is 1, the creative. Okay, so we have the army, hexagram 7, transforming through a process, through a journey of all these changing lines into the creative. Now, when I do these tutorials, what I also like to do is to show you the nuclear hexagram. There is a I Ching 101 showing you how to do that. What we do is we take positions 2, 3, and 4, okay, so those 3, and we write those up on the bottom. So that's a yang, yin, yin. And we take these 3, the ones that overlap. We don't worry about the 6th line, and we don't worry about the first. This is what's leaving. This is what's new, what's arriving. This is the core, the overlapping center. Okay, so that's yin, yin, yin. Oh, look at these slanty lines I'm making here for you. And this is hexagram 24, the return. Okay, the arrival of energy into the dark night. I'm going to try and draw these more neatly for you. Okay, so we're going to get into the changing lines in a moment, but let us remind ourselves of the question. Kay has asked on using her whole potential to serve others through her business while generating abundance. So what we can do is we can, with the hexagrams, we can pull out of the hexagram and the hexagram meaning a bit of a strategy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the 3 hexagrams, remind us of what they stand for, the change cycles they bring to us. And then what we can do is we can pull out a strategy of how these hexagrams help the question. Now, you've heard me say many times over that the interpretation of these hexagrams, when you've got a real question for a real person, for a real situation for ourselves, is where the magic is. Okay, this is the hard part, okay, because we're going to integrate and synthesize all these different things together. Okay, so let's start with the army. The army is about mobilizing oneself, one's focus, and one's resources. Okay, on the bottom trigram, we have water hidden within the earth. This is the underground spring that is needed to be tapped into in a time of urgency. This is deploying resources and focus and strategy with communication, with organization, and with fervor and focus. So we get this army when we are being asked to get organized, to lead, to have a plan. Okay, we need a plan. And we need a team. Okay, and this relates to pulling people from our network, from our community, just like an army in a time of crisis. You'd pull people, you pull reserves from a civic collection of people in order to wage a war. Okay, that's obviously a violent example, or to achieve something unusual and extraordinary. So, Kay, as you work with this question of using your whole potential, right, to serve others, right, to do good while generating income, you've got to get back to the plan, what am I needing to do, and the team, and to communicate. All right, this is the very highly proficient, organized leader who mobilizes others, who gets things done, who has a clear focus, who creates discipline in the troops, because in a war army situation, you've got lots of people milling about. Some of them are ill-trained, and you've got to mobilize and make sure everyone knows what to do, where to go, what they're doing, and get the job done. So there's something around discipline, mobilizing, having a strategy, having a plan, having a team, effectively communicating and mobilizing the resources that are all around you to bring your whole self to your service that you're wanting to bring, and to then activate the abundance that comes with it. So then this nuclear 24, the return, what does this mean? This hexagram is all about the return of spring after the dark night. Here is the male line coming back into this world of dark lines, of things lying still and waiting, bringing light and bringing new energy. Okay, so what we do, what is our strategy when we come into this time? We allow the return to come. We return potentially to the past. Okay, this hexagram sometimes can tell us that we turn back to something of the past. We draw on something that we've learned in the past. We draw on people, or on a career, or on things of the past to help us move forward. So it can be going back to something, like going back to an old career, back to an old way. And it talks about moving forward, that spark of light that returns. This is a lovely hexagram that brings at the nuclear, at the heart of what's going on, all this army stuff, right? All this work that's happening to mobilize and communicate and be disciplined, to plan and to have a strategy and have a focus and get the job done, right? Is this turning point, a turning point towards better times, out of the dark night into a better time, is sitting at the heart of this process, right? And the opportunity you have in your business to serve and to get the financial return you deserve, the abundance you deserve for your good service. Now, the second hexagram, the outcome hexagram, there's many different words for these second hexagrams, relating hexagram. Some people see this as the start and the finish. Some see these as two different facets of the same question. I quite like to talk about what is the victory that is held within the second relating outcome hexagram. And the victory is our ability to apply our creative power. So, the creative, number one, a beginning, new cycle, new energy, a surge of creative power. Love it. Absolutely love this hexagram. Always male lines. Okay. The ability to begin again, to begin anew. Almost there's a connection here, right? Between the creative and the return. New cycles, new energy, new beginnings, but also the ability to tap into your inner dragon. Okay, so dragon is a key word. We don't mean draconian, we mean a dragon, the power of the dragon, of your creative power, tapping into your creative power. And I think that what I'm feeling with this question that you've asked, that as much as what is your focus, the situation that you're in right now, okay, to bring your whole self to your business, to serve and to manifest abundance, requires you to be the leader and the general, to get mobilized, to plan, to communicate, to draw on resources and get the job done. Okay, that is where your attention is being brought. And in this process, the victory that you can bring, the energy, the transformation you can bring to this question you have asked is your creative power. Your creativity, not like art creativity, right? Although it might be the process. It's your creative intelligence that you can bring as a form of victory, and the opportunity to bring your inner dragon to the work that you're doing, to the abundance you're manifesting, and to bring your creative energy to the fore. So I would say, before we get into this little line over here and how we deal with all these changing lines, is bring your creative power to the present task. Okay, focus on the new things that you're beginning. Step into your dragon, your creative power, as a way to victory. Okay, draw this dragon in as you work with the army, as you work with the things that are needing your attention right now, the mobilizing of action plans, right? All the stuff. Draw your creative dragon power into the situation as a part of your superpower to bring your creative intelligence to the task. And that is how you connect these things up, how you bring your whole self, okay, your creative self, your organized, mobilized leadership self. You bring these two things together. Yes, we like that. We bring these things together and we get the turning point. We activate the turning point that is here. And it's almost as if you might find that in your life, there's a part of you that's creative. And once again, this is not about arts and crafts. I'm talking about creative intelligence, creative thinking, creative idea generation. Okay, there's a creative element to you. Maybe think of that as the right brain, right? As we typically know. And there's the mobilized, organized part of you. There's the army, your capacity to lead, mobilize, communicate, plan, strategize, do all those leadership thingies that make an army successful in the heat of battle. And you bring that left brain, and you bring that right brain, and you bring them together in the center. Because your question is all about your whole potential. And you might find, as you unpack these two parts of you, you find new ways of bringing them together. Now, I know that other people watching might have different views, and I think that's amazing. And we all see different things as to how can we integrate these hexagrams when you work with understanding how to work with interpretation. How do we synthesize the picture together? And for me, I always look for how do we create a story? How do we create a metaphor of what we are seeing here in the combination of hexagrams for a question that that can really help us. So I'm going to give you a keyword that's coming to mind. Right. Let me write this neatly. Organized, creative intelligence. Yes. Okay. So that's our strategy. Organized. You can even add the word focused. Not necessarily. Organized creative intelligence is how you bring your whole self to your business to serve and to manifest the abundance you deserve. Now, when it comes to the changing lines, I mentioned that there was one particular way we could look at this. Now, obviously, there's lots of changing lines. 5 out of the 6 are changing, right? So before we know it, poof, we are here in our dragon. And so what I would like to share with you is a technique of how to do that. What we do is, usually it's if there's 4 or more lines, so here's 5, we're definitely in the comfort zone, is we read the changing line in this position in the outcome hexagram. It's one way, it's not necessarily the only way. You can also quite simply take the meaning from each of these changing lines and work with all of them. But there's so much dynamic energy here that it's quite a useful technique. Okay, and we can then look at this changing line in the outcome hexagram. Now, in this position, okay, what this changing line represents is it represents that the dragon is emerging into the field. Okay, so here comes the dragon power. It's on the surge, and it's just now popped over the horizon. Okay, it's still immersed on the ground. It's still amongst its peers. It's still on the ground level. It's not elevated for everyone to see up in the sky. And all that needs to be done is to focus with serious commitment on growing that creative power. Okay, so what this means is for someone who's got this line, it talks about your creative power has emerged. It's visible. You and others can see it, but it's still on ground level. So it's almost like the influence is still within the peer group, within people like you on your same level, in your environment, in your community, and your seriousness of purpose and your commitment to what you're wanting to do pulls that energy upwards. So all you have to do with this changing line is stay focused on what is meaningful to you in your creative power. That pulls you upwards. So yes, sometimes changing lines become meaningful because they give us something really specific. But when we have lots of changing lines, so I wanted to add on over and above our outline we already have and our keyword, our phrase, that can help as a strategy is to talk a little bit about that changing line. So I'm not going to focus too much on it in this episode. You can, of course, you can go get a book and have a look at those particular changing lines. But it becomes a little bit less meaningful when we have lots of changing lines, okay? Go and read them. That's cool. But perhaps look at this opportunity of looking at changing line 2 for the creative number 1, hexagram number 1. This is all about the dragon emerging out of the horizon. It was hidden in changing line 1. Now it's emerging out of the vision line, and others can start to see it. It's growing, and you're starting to accumulate power, starting to see your own potential as it emerges for you out of the depths of the earth. And now all you have to do is lean into it and give it energy and give it focus and seriousness. That's all that's in front of you with this changing line. Beautiful energy. Thank you, Kay, for your wonderful question, and best of luck with manifesting your left brain and your right brain working together to manifest your abundance, your business, and your great service through your whole potential.